What's going on, everyone? So earlier today, we got reports that the New York Knicks were Giannis's preferred destination and that Giannis nearly went to the Knicks. However, the Milwaukee Bucks didn't like or weren't satisfied with the package that the New York Knicks were presenting. Right? Well, Giannis to the Knicks, I do think makes a lot of sense, especially for Giannis. One, I think that Giannis going to the Knicks, if he's able to win a championship there, what that would do for his legacy and his career for, one of the biggest organizations. I mean, think of like the big markets and teams. It's the Lakers and the Knicks, right? And the Knicks haven't won in 50 something years, right? So if Giannis was to go there and win a championship, that would mean more to the league than anything. Right? And so I do think that there is a lot of logic in him going to the Knicks, him and Jalen Brunson. He stays in the Eastern Conference, right? I think that there is, really, if you can still carve out a good enough team, there's an argument that could be maybe even one of the better destinations for him. You got Jalen Brunson and Giannis. There would be some questions, right, given Dame and Giannis, and that kind of falling apart and not working. But couple things about that. One, Jalen Brunson at this stage of his career compared to where Dame was when he went to Milwaukee. And two, they didn't get a ton of games together, a ton of reps together. I didn't think that it was going to be like, oh my God, unbelievable just because of Dame's age. But I did think it would be better than it was. And so, could Jalen Brunson and Giannis be the thing that, look, they're going to an NBA Finals with Giannis and Jalen Brunson at this stage. Like, if they can keep one of Bridges or OG, it's absolute money, which I actually think you can make an argument you might be better off keeping Karl Anthony Towns. But anyway, this is a Laker channel. I actually did a whole video kind of breaking down the Giannis situation over on As It Stands NBA. So go check out the sports channel, the NBA channel, if you're interested in that. But the Lakers have eyes on Giannis and Jokic, and there was a lot of talks about Giannis this offseason, not really trading for him this offseason, but, hey, he's a guy that is, kind of getting a little itchy, kind of looking like he may end up departing from the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Lakers could be one of those destinations. Him and Luka Doncic, you want to talk about a kind of match made in heaven, a perfect pairing. There's probably not a better duo in the league as far as like fit and everything along those lines. Like Luka Doncic, everything he can do. Giannis, everything he can do. The Giannis kind of with the defense, the size, the length, the versatility kind of, makes up for the lack of Luka's inabilities to defend and lack of athleticism at times and stuff like that. Like they would just be, I think a perfect blend. Would there be a little kind of trial and error and figuring out period? Sure. But you look at Luka and his ability and his favorite outlet being the lob threat and stuff like that. I think it would work, and I think it would be a beautiful fit. However, problem is the Lakers having the lack of assets that they have in order to go trade for Giannis. Unless he really pushes and forces his way to the Lakers, it's very unlikely that happens this season or period, right? Next offseason. Right, so at the end of this year, going into next offseason, Giannis would have a lot more power, and the Lakers would have a lot more ability to trade for him. Right, so next offseason, Giannis would be going into a contract year. And if he says, and I've talked about this all offseason, right? If the Lakers are going to land a Giannis or a Jokic, it's going to be via trade. It's the Lakers end up trading for Giannis or Jokic. Why? Because if Denver even has the slightest inclination that Jokic is about to leave and walk for nothing, they will trade him to the highest bidder rather than losing him for nothing. Like Jokic is good enough. Teams will pull a Toronto with Kawhi situation where it's like, hey, we got 1 year, try to go win a championship, but he's the guy that could bring it for us. Right? Same thing with the Giannis. Giannis is so good, a team would probably do that. So either of those guys would have to kind of force their way to the Lakers. Like I said, I think if anybody is coming to the Lakers, it would be Jokic. I know this offseason he said he's planning on sticking around and whatnot, and he didn't sign the extension because he gets more money on it. I get that. Things change, times change. We've heard that story and that script said 100 times, if not more. Like every other year, somebody says that and they're on another team, right? So, we'll see. I think it's unlikely either way. If I'm being honest, I've been very consistent in that regard. Like, I don't think it's something we can count on, nor should we count on. But I think if I had to pick Giannis or Jokic, which one's coming, which one's more likely to come, I think it would be Jokic, right? I think Giannis and Luka would be the better fit than Luka and Jokic. But I think Jokic, if you can get him, you do that. Well, it's the same thing for Giannis, right? Like, if Milwaukee believes that Giannis wants to leave, he's going to get traded. Giannis would probably request the trade. I think, like, if this season goes poorly for Milwaukee, like myself and many others believe it will be, I think he just says, like, it's time for me to go. The problem is, if he requests a trade at the deadline, personally, I think you could kiss the idea of Giannis goodbye, right? Because I don't think the Lakers have enough to go get Giannis right now. And I don't know if he would force his way to the Lakers right now, right? But you get into next offseason, and the Lakers now have 3 firsts, right? And potential Austin Reeves sign-in trade, plus they can add in, whatever, a Duthie or whatever they need to do. Jake LaRavia, things like that. Like, here's some young guys, and we could clear some salary, we could do some things. Lakers could put together actually a better package than even the Knicks. So now the Lakers could at least be in the conversation. Well, right now, they're not really in the conversation. So why would Giannis want to make a big scene and force his way to the Lakers when the Lakers can't even realistically trade for him right now, right? Like, so I don't see that happening. Again, never say never, obviously, with the Luka situation, but people got to remember, we traded Anthony Davis, a first, Max Christie, young player, right? Was it, Luka, like what Luka would have gotten on the open market? No, but people like to pretend like we just traded scraps to get Luka, right? Like, we traded, Max Christie and Bronny James and landed Jokic or Luka, right? No, we traded Anthony Davis, top 10 player in all of basketball, one of the best two-way players in all of basketball, a young 3-and-D prospect, and, a first. Again, was it a fleece by the Lakers? Sure, but it wasn't to the level that people try to make it be. You don't have an Anthony Davis that you can go trade for Giannis. You just don't. Right? And you got to keep in mind, Milwaukee can't tank. Milwaukee cannot tank for the bottom. They don't have control over any of their picks. So they need a package that makes sense for them. That's why I think the Knicks actually do make sense, because it's like you could do something like Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, add that to like a Miles Turner. So you have like Miles Turner, a Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, Gary Trent Jr., and then, you figure out Kevin Porter Jr. at the point guard position, whatever, right? Milwaukee would have a team that, they're not winning anything, but like, could they get to, second round or something in the East? Possibly, depending on the matchups and stuff like that. Could be kind of interesting. Maybe get a young guy or two from the Knicks. They don't have a ton, right? The Lakers don't, what are you going to trade right now? You'd have to basically trade your entire roster outside of like Ayton, LeBron, and Luka to go get Giannis. And then you'd have to fill out the rest of the roster, because you got to remember, Austin Reeves is only making like $14 million or $14.5 million. So you can't, you'd have to get to that and then fill out it's almost impossible. Nothing's fully impossible, right? Like I always say, I don't like to speak in definitives, especially with sports, right? But it's about as close as it gets for that to be not happening this season. Now, again, next offseason, when Giannis can kind of weigh his options, maybe LeBron retires, because that's something else. Does Giannis want to go to the Knicks because he's looking at it as like, if I go to the Lakers, right, LeBron plays my spot that I would play, and what, am I going to be the third guy? Like, because right now it's Luka's team, and you got LeBron James. Like, am I going to go there and be the second or third guy? Right? Look, if I'm Giannis, I'm not going to the Lakers while LeBron's there. Right? And it's nothing to do with LeBron. We know Giannis loves LeBron, but it's nothing to do with LeBron. It's just, where do I slot in? Right? Like, what, I'm just going to be the catch, I'm just going to be the lob threat the entire time LeBron's there? Like, no, that doesn't make sense. But now in the offseason, if LeBron leaves, you have 3 firsts, Austin Reeves, and a bunch of other stuff, and a bunch of cap space to where you could absorb himself. Now, all of a sudden, Giannis could be looking around and going like, hey, time out a minute. Right? Like, I could go to the Lakers, I could play with Luka Doncic, slot alongside DeAndre Ayton, me, Luka, DeAndre Ayton, and then we just need, kind of the other complement, whatever's left over, you figure that out. We go get, a 3-and-D guy and we're in business. We're winning championships here, right? You have 2 top 3 players on your team and 2 that fit like a glove. If those guys want to win a championship, does it get like that? That's a duo where you're like, yeah, as long as they're healthy, good luck, right? Like, you still need the rest of the team. You still need to fill out a lot, but they have a good chance, right? Luka and Giannis by themselves could probably win you a championship or get you pretty close. So you just add in a couple key pieces, all of a sudden they're there. But again, it has to make sense for Giannis. Right now, going to the Lakers makes 0 sense for Giannis. In the offseason, it starts to make a lot of sense, right? So I get he would maybe look to the Knicks, right? The other thing is, too, like, I actually there's several teams you can make an argument for Giannis, right? The Spurs are a team that comes to mind. Right, the Knicks, I think, make some sense. Even like the Cavs, like with Donovan Mitchell, I think you could make some sense in that regard. Detroit with Cade Cunningham, I think could make some sense. It just depends on where does he want to go. Does he want to go to a big market? Because if he wants to go to a big market, like I see a lot of talks about like Brooklyn. I don't like Brooklyn. There's no other stars you can pair him with next season. Right? Like, what do you pair him with James Harden? Pair him with LeBron? Like, if he wants to play with LeBron, he could just go to the Lakers, right? Like, and play with LeBron and Luka, right? So again, if he wants to play with James Harden, he could just request a trade to the Clippers and then play with Kawhi Leonard and James Harden, right? Like, so to me, I don't think the Brooklyn thing makes sense. So the only teams, like, if he wants to go to a big market, it'd be the Lakers or the Knicks, right? If he's open to going to like smaller markets, then I think that there's a ton of arguments for teams. But it'll be interesting, right? I'm sure that this noise isn't going anywhere. Once we get close to the trade deadline, I think it'll still continue to ramp up. And then obviously next offseason if he's still on the Bucks. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. If you enjoy these types of videos, truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.